quick little one, a little tutorial here. My last tutorial was like 20 minutes, and this one I hope will be 5 minutes. I've just noticed a couple little hints, tricks, things like that that I forgot to mention in the last tutorial that hopefully I'll be able to help people out in this one. First is, this is a band recording live off the floor. I heard one person say, oh, the bass in this part is way off. And I think what they were doing was they were taking it from another part in the song and trying to match it up with the drums from a different part of the song, which a lot of music nowadays is recorded to a click track. So that is possible to do. The songs are just all perfectly in time. You can grab one section, put it into a different section. It doesn't even matter. A lot of the time, bands that play math rock, it is such a thing, and it's actually fantastic. I would check some out. Mars Volta or Giraffes are a couple of my personal favorites. They're changing times all throughout the music, and they don't necessarily, some might, record to a click track. Robot Apocalypse, and they were saying that the bass line wasn't that good in in I think it was Chaotic Entrance. Little did they know I was behind them, and I'm the one who played the bass. But anyways, regardless of that, it was a different class, not our class. They're doing the same assignment. To get used to all this audio editing. My webcam's kind of old too, so it might go yellow. Don't even worry about it. So I'm going to give you a couple tips and tricks. Also, if you run into a case where you need to change some timing, we'll go into that as well. The first one is if I want to, like the first thing is we've got to make sure our audio isn't redlining. So if I hit play, and you might hear it coming through the speakers in the room here a little bit. And hang on one. There we go. We want to make sure we're not redlining. We can be low on the low end. We don't want to be redlining because we can't get that back. After this, so initially when a band is setting up to create a song, there's a lot of work into it that people don't realize. One, they got to write the song, lyrics, instruments, everything. So they're writing the song. Two, they're coming up with their arrangement, who's going to play what, when, and everything like that. And recording. Recording is a big part. You got to mic the individual instruments. You might have direct-in instruments. You got to mic the drum kit. You got to get a good mic on the vocalist. You want to try and eliminate sound with sounds. It's called bleeding, when one sound bleeds into another microphone. You want to try and minimize those types of things as much as possible. So then that's recording. Once you've got all the individual tracks recorded, you get to mixing. That's where we're jumping in. Right here is mixing. So we don't want to have any of it redlining, because that'll kind of kill all the work that's been done before us. Because even after this, if we create a mix that is a little bit quiet, so let's suppose, I don't know, it's down here at -3 or something like that. It's not all the way up to 0. There's yet another stage. Once you have a nicely mixed song, there's still the mastering stage. And that's where they're bumping it up and getting it as close to 0 and kind of playing with the whole space and stuff like that. We're playing with the space of the instruments, spacing them out. But mastering goes even further and looks at the tones and kind of shapes the tones to give the tones each frequency along the spectrum its own space in the song. So don't worry if your mix is a little bit low. I know that people have been doing some great mixes at school, especially we're using cheap Dollarama headsets. I had to buy Dollarama ones so that I could have enough for the whole class. When I'm actually mixing my song, I will only do it down here in my basement because I've got these nice big speakers that have a good bass sound and everything. And after you create a mix, it's important to try it in a whole bunch of different places, like in a car and in headphones and things like that, so that you know that it sounds good. Anyways, so a couple things. We want to make sure that it's not redlining. As I was talking away there, you could kind of see I'm not getting up to 0. I could increase the master a little bit, but I don't want to hit red. Jump over the mixer. None of the individual tracks are hitting red. I'll show you what it means. That one won't even... There we go. The next thing that I didn't... I talked about panning. Sorry, this one's panning, this one's volume. But also, if you hover over these lines here, the top one is volume. Let me grab the bass synth. Right here we were at the solo. If I want the volume to... I'm going to zoom in on this part, actually. So to zoom in, this is a good thing for zooming in. There's my whole clip. I'm going to zoom in and move it over to this part that I want. So here's kind of that bass solo. I'm going to grab this bass synth. And I want to turn it up a little bit. So I'm going to put a point there and a point there. And it ends here. And I'm going to just turn up this area of the bass. So if I move this back here, we'll be able to hear that bass synth. Maybe I'll back it. I'll put on the actual audio just for a sec. So a couple of things I was saying while my microphone was off was when I increase this, when I increase the bass synth, I started redlining down a little bit. So you got to watch both of those two things at the same time. If you're increasing sounds in your mix, you want to make sure you're not redlining. The blue one, you can add points in there, and that will allow you to pan. So this should go to the left ear if you're listening in headphones. The high chirping would come over to this side, then swing back over to this side during that solo part to give kind of a weird effect. And also, if you want to zoom in and out, you can adjust up here. I'm not sure if I said that while my mic was working. Now, one last thing, this button right here beside the snapping. Usually we don't want the snapping on. What it does is it kind of, snapping's fine, it kind of snaps it to the tracks around it or to a different time. This one here, now that person who said the one part wasn't in time, it was a little bit too slow, you can actually go in and adjust the speed of something. Now, I think that some bands do this. One time when we recorded with Steve Bays from Hot Hot Heat, we sent him our work and he sent it back and we thought, whoa, that sounds so good. Did we actually play that? And what he did was he increased the speed a little bit, so it made us seem like we were playing quite a bit quicker than we were, which was kind of neat. And I think the easiest way to hear this is in the vocals. So if we play a vocal here, and I've put it on solo,
foot in the door, freaking you out. Miscommunication, misunderstanding, misrepresented.
Okay, so there's kind of how that sounds. Now, not the triangle right on the end there that says extra vocals, but the triangle right below it. Yeah, right in the corner of the audio there. If you hover, it says stretch. I'm going to stretch this smaller, and then let's listen to that same clip. Now, again, with this, you got to watch. You can do it a little bit without it sounding noticeable. If you do it way too much, you're going to start sounding like a chipmunk. So.
Miscommunication, misunderstanding, misrepresented identification. It's better than nothing. Love effigy, worse than anything.
Now, it might be, I think it puts a percent on there as well. Oh, down in the corner there. So now I'm at 67% of what it was. So you can stretch it out, try and get it back to 100% of the time. And again, now I'm all kind of off, but it should line up with this audio underneath. 95, 99, 103, 100. So now I should be back and lined up there, back to 100%. But you can go about, and a lot of bands do that. I remember hearing Billy Corgan from the Smashing Pumpkins. He said that one of their first huge hits was a song called Cherub Rock. And the guitar solo for it, and don't quote me, I kind of remember this, but I don't know exactly. He recorded it at half the speed and then sped it up for the recording. And then before they went on tour, he had to go and make sure how to learn how to play his own solo because he sped it up because he had an idea of how he wanted it, but couldn't play that fast yet. So anyways, that's a couple tricks. The last thing, switching these kind of left ear, right ear, loudness, quietness. In music, these are called dynamics. Sometimes there's natural dynamics just based upon how hard a person is playing the instrument, whether it be a saxophone or a trumpet or the guitar or whatever. And you can also add these after the fact artificial dynamics into a track as well. So the last thing that I didn't show, and I'm trying not to let this, I'm already at 14 minutes, but there was some time that I'm going to cut out because my mic wasn't on, for how to export. So I've got all my tracks here. I've got this mix. I think it's amazing. I want to go File, Export, Multi-Track Mix down this entire session. And up it comes. I either want to create it as a wave, or upcoming when we're doing podcasting, I want to put it as an MP3. For podcasting, our radio podcasting, we definitely want to do it as an MP3. And MP3s are smaller, so if you're working at school and you're trying to upload it, the wave will take longer. I would just do it as an MP3 right away. And so we would pick MP3. It's going to save it as an MP3 up here now instead, and we'd want to put it in the student drive. Okay, hopefully that helps. It takes a minute or so to do, and then submit your MP3. Because if we submit this file, save as this session file, it's not going to be any good to me because the session file references, it just is code that references where these wave files are on the computer and all the effects that have been applied to each track. So this thing's not going to be very helpful. We got to mix it down into a wave or an MP3 to submit. Anyways, hopefully that helps. If you have questions, leave a comment or let me know. All right.